Hey there, I'm Giovanna, this is Nikki, and we're going to show you how to perform a Chaturanga. Chaturanga is something you're going to hear a lot in our yoga-based classes here at Rogue Awakening, so we want to make sure that you are set up for success. So Nikki is going to start in a high plank position. In her high plank, her shoulders will be stacked over her wrist. She'll have a really nice long line of energy from the crown of her head all the way down to her heels, and then her heels are stacked over her toes. From there, she'll inhale to shift forward, bringing her weight into her fingertips, and you see her heels are shifted over her toes. Then she'll exhale to a mid-plank. This is bending her elbows backwards to 90 degrees, keeping them tight into her side the entire time. Inhale to upward facing dog, so she'll flip her toes, press her hands into her mat. Then she's really nice and engaged through her glutes. So you can see that there's a space between her thighs and the mat. You get a really beautiful stretch through the entire front side of her body, and her gaze is forward. From here, a breath in, and then exhale to her downward facing dog. Downward facing dog, fingertips are spread wide. You press into all 10 tips, and then a little beautiful inversion through her back here so she can really melt her chest towards her thighs. You'll notice she has a little bend in her knees, and this is going to help her maybe drop the heels closer to her mat and really get this beautiful stretch all through that front side of her body. So when you're in class, try this out, and we have some modifications for you that you can check out next. Modifications are a really wonderful way to build your strength to do a full chaturanga. And also in class, if you're fatigued from maybe working out a lot during the week, or if you've maybe done what seems like 100 chaturangas throughout that class, and your body is just needing a little bit of a break, here are some really awesome options that you can take that are available at any time. You don't have to wait for your teacher to tell you. You can just do what feels good for you and your body. So I'll have Nikki come into a high plank. Again, in your high plank, you want your shoulders stacked over your wrist, a beautiful long line from the crown of her head all the way down to her heels. From here, we'll inhale forward, shifting weight into our fingertips, but now she'll drop down to her knees. So you come into a modified plank position. Then she still exhales and comes to her 90-degree bend in her elbows, keeping them really tight into her side, making sure her chest is nice and in line with her biceps and her triceps. And an inhale for upward facing dog. In upward facing dog, thighs still stay lifted off of the ground, still engaged through the glutes. You can see there's a space here pushing through the tops of her feet. Gaze is forward, chest is forward, a nice stretch to the front side of the body. Exhale to downward facing dog. Another option that you have for a modification in class, if you just need a little bit less, you want to just really focus on building strength through your core. When you're in your high plank position, you might hear your teacher cue through the chaturanga, through the up dog. You do not have to take those. Instead, what you can do is you can hang out in your high plank position, shoulders stacked over your wrist, your heels over the toes, nice and strong through your glutes and your core. You'll hear your teacher cue everything, and then all you have to do is press right to your downward facing dog. Ideally in class for your downward facing dog, you don't really have to move your hands, you don't really have to move your feet. You have this perfect position every time so you can fluidly move in and out of your poses and in and out of your flows. Hope this helps. We'll see you in class soon. About a few common misalignments that we see while performing chaturangas, and we are going to give you the antidote to those to make sure that you have your safest and strongest chaturangas while you're taking class, especially here at Rogue Awakening. So in your chaturanga, you'll start at a high plank. Sometimes what we see are elbows flaring to the side while we're lowering down for our mid plank. So you'll see Nikki, she lowers down, elbows are out to the side, but instead what she's going to do is snap them right back in. We want to have our elbows in close to our bodies to keep the work in our triceps. Then she'll come into upward facing dog and downward facing dog. If you find that maybe it's hard to keep the elbows in, I encourage you to come onto your knees. You can check out our previous video where we talked about the modifications to make sure that we can really get that good arm movement down before we transition to coming up onto the toes. Next, something that we see are what we refer to as belly flops. And what that means is as we make our way down to the ground, she shifts forward, she just lets herself fall down to the ground. There's really no resistance there, working to the triceps. And so from here, what we'd really love to see is you just taking your time, resisting on the way down, and stop at 90 degrees here with the elbows into the side, then upward facing dog to downward facing dog. Something that I'll have Nikki show is coming down to the belly, slow and controlled, and then coming into cobra, which is an option that you are able to take. So if you lower down all the way, notice she's slow, 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 slow. There's no belly flopping happening here. And then she untucks her toes for a cobra, which you can take all the way up, or you can even have a bigger bend in the elbows if you feel any pain in the back, and then she'll go right to her downward facing dog. The last thing that we see are what is like a swooping chaturanga. Ideally, a chaturanga is two movements that are completely separate and you know exactly what's happening. So here she'll show you what that swoop is, where she'll come down and she'll come up, almost like she's combining the chaturanga and the upward facing dog. Instead, we really, again, we want to see elbows to 90, stopping there, and then transitioning to the upward facing dog.